All right. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
We're back.
Happy October.
Yeah, man. Back. Welcome, everybody. It's been a while since we've done a podcast. I'm joined today by Nancy, fitness guru extraordinaire. She was on one of our podcasts before. John wasn't able to join us today. He's traveling for work. Still don't know what he does for a living, but I know he's an important guy.
He's
and
like Chandler Bing. No one knows what
he
does.
is the Chandler Bing, but I know he's really, really successful. He sends his regards. I'm sure he'll be back really soon. But I'm excited to do the show with Nancy. She's a friend. She's awesome, and she knows a little bit about everything, which is great. So
I feel like I need to take you everywhere I go so you can introduce me.
Yeah,
Always.
I'm good at intros. I'm really good at intros. But thanks for doing the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
I hope you can do it with us every week. To be honest with you, I think you're great. We've only done about 5 or 6 of these, but the best feedback that I've gotten from people was when you were on the show, and like the chemistry we had with you and John. It was really, really cool. So if we can make this a recurring thing, I think that'd be awesome.
I like that idea.
So let's catch up. We caught a little bit up before we started recording today. What's been going on in your world? What's been going on with Size? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my God, Size! I'm so in love with Size. So I have a dance background and choreography background, and Size came out. For those of you who don't know, Shanti, the creator of Insanity, came out with a new fitness program that is dance based. And it's basically designed for people who think they can't dance. So it's broken down step by step, slow tempo, then you speed it up and you layer it until the end when you're doing the entire routine full out. And it came out in July, and everybody's losing their mind for this program. So I became certified so I could start teaching it live. I taught my first demo class a couple days ago, and the feedback's been amazing. People are loving it.
Awesome. So every time one of these new programs comes out, you got to get certified by...
No.
Oh, okay.
No. There's they don't have certifications for every program. They did the certification for this one because what they were doing was getting rid of... there used to be one called Hip Hop Hustle, and they discontinued that live version. So they wanted to implement a new live version of one of the home workout programs, but they wanted to do something different because we have Turbo Kick, which is the live version of Turbo Fire. And then we have the live version of Insanity, P90X. There's a live class of P90X.
Yeah, I think most people they'll hear P90X and go, yeah, I know that. That I've seen on TV.
Right.
I don't know about the Turbo Fire as
Right,
much,
the Turbo Fire is not as popular. P90X was the one that blew everything up.
Sure.
And then Insanity.
Right.
So they were trying to figure out what's the next one, and Size was just a natural fit because it's different. And there's no really dance fitness classes except for Zumba.
Yeah.
So, and Zumba has an insanely loyal following. But Zumba, number one, is not for everybody. If you've ever taken a Zumba class, Zumba literally is there's no step-by-step choreography. It's just go.
Right.
Follow the instructor and go. And if you can't follow, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So this class is completely different. It's
and all of these fall under the umbrella of Beachbody, right?
Yeah, this is Beachbody Live.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
so that we have new programs coming out all the time. We've got 3 or 4 a year, but this is the latest one we've got a live format for.
No, I think most of the people that'll be listening to this, and most of our friends are on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of stuff on Facebook. I have a lot of Beachbody coaches on Facebook. One of the things that I saw, I'm not gonna name any names, but I had to pause and step back and go, that seems unbelievable, but. Somebody who I think you're affiliated with, not going to mention a name, because it's not a bad thing at all, but she was, I guess, recognized for being $1 million producer or something to that effect.
Yes.
And, I saw pictures of her holding, the big giant check,
right.
That you see on TV and stuff. That seems unbelievable to me.
It really does.
Is it possible?
Oh,
is it
God,
true
yes.
that she, does that mean that she generated or earned $1 million?
Cumulatively, since she joined the business 5 years ago. So yeah, she has.
So in 5 years,
she earned $1 million.
She earned $1 million.
Her and her sister. So we have $2 million earners on our team right now.
So $2 million. $1 million each, or $1 million between the two?
$1 million each.
$1 million each.
Yeah, there's only, I want to say we have almost 400,000 coaches in the entire network. There's only 35, I think, million people in the Millionaire Club.
Wow, that is extraordinary. The neat thing about what you're doing is that fitness and the focus on health and nutrition and just being well, I don't think that's going anywhere. That's here to stay. That's actually becoming now ingrained in our culture, which is neat.
Yeah.
The possibility that you can be that successful, and you don't need to make $1 million
Right.
to be happy and love what you do for a living.
Right.
But before we go, and you can give out your contact info now. But before we go, I definitely wanted to make a point to make sure that you shared your info, how people can get a hold of you if they want to get involved. Because becoming a coach is not a difficult thing to do by any means,
At all.
but it's obviously the very first step if you're seeking for a change in your career path and you want to do something that not only is going to improve you physically and potentially financially, but could also be helping others. I definitely would like people to get a hold of you and see how that can be done, because it sounds cool. $1 million, Jesus.
And it's not even. A lot of people think if once you're a coach, you have to bust your hump to work the business. You don't have to work the business if you're a coach. There's different levels that you can choose to do. We have a lot of coaches that just want to get the discounts on the products, and that's it. We call them discount coaches. Frank is one.
Right.
He has no interest in working the business, but he drinks Shakeology every day. He does all the fitness programs, so why not get a discount? And then there's coaches that are just kind of doing it as a hobby. They just want to earn a little extra money, maybe cover the cost of their Shakeology, or maybe earn enough to fill the gas tank every month or whatever. And then there's the business builders that are balls to the wall, committing to making it a full-time gig that, my coach replaced hers and her husband's 6-figure incomes with Beachbody.
Incredible.
So it's possible.
Yeah, and I think, and some people could even start out in a very kind of casual way.
Absolutely.
And then see, wait a second, there's something to this, and they blow up. I have several friends, again, on Facebook that were attorneys, former attorneys.
Yep.
You know them all. I mean, you guys are all interconnected down here. But they left their careers. They went to school for 8 years.
Yeah. We have people
got their
paying off their
JDs.
mortgages.
Unbelievable.
That are we have one girl who retired her parents, bought them a house, paid it off in full.
Unbelievable.
And, it's like, wow.
What a wonderful thing. It
really is. It really is.
You are one of the hardest working women in show business. So I know you're going down that path, and I'm really excited for you. I think it's great. And, to be able to say that you love what you do and be financially successful at it is just, it's the dream. So congrats. I really hope that you reach those heights, because again, I saw the big $1 million check, and I was beside myself.
Yeah.
Incredible. So we haven't seen each other in a while. The last time I saw you, we were having dinner at a crazy steakhouse. What's the name of the steakhouse for people that haven't gone there? And obviously you live in South Florida.
It's called Brasa Viva.
Brasa Viva.
Yeah.
Right. So it's right off of it's in Sunrise, right off of that Sawgrass exit, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to work by there. I think I mentioned this to you. I used to work by there. And I drive by this place every day, but never went inside. And I'm so glad that you and Frank got us out there, because it was one of the best meals ever. For those of you who haven't been there, it's basically in the style of like Texas de Brazil, right?
Yeah.
Sort of.
I mean,
or
it's
the
similar.
knife.
It's
or the
similar.
knife.
Yeah.
The knife, right? Where they walk
Right.
around with the, with the
it's a
cuts
Brazilian steakhouse.
with the cuts of meat, and it's
Right.
basically unlimited,
All you can eat.
debauchery.
And it's wonderful.
It's wonderful, and it's hedonistic, and
It really is.
you kind of like afterwards you kind of feel bad about yourself, not because
I feel
not because you ate bad, but because people shouldn't be eating like
Let me
that.
tell
There's
you
no
something.
way.
When I'm eating to the point that oh my God, I'm so full, I still don't want to stop, because I'm like, I'm really full, but if I stop, I will regret it. I just want to continue eating because it's so good.
And it's funny how we were talking about, you're a fitness expert, and you're talking about eating all soup, but you actually do it in a kind of healthy way. You do it in an Atkins style way, right? Where it's pure protein. You're not doing
I don't do any of the carbs.
You're not doing any carbs. You're like a dinosaur, just eating meat.
But for me,
all
it's not a
meats.
strategic thing. I'm not doing it for health reasons. I'm doing it because I want to save space for the steak.
Sure,
I don't want to make,
Sure.
I'm trying to enjoy my flank. That's that cut. The flank steak is the most fattening one. So I'm like, man. So we don't go too often. We actually just went a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But we don't go too often. But when we do, it's glutton.
Yeah, I love that.
glutton.
And Sue and I, my wife and I were rookies in there, because we made the mistake of eating the rice and the salad and the garbage beforehand. And we should have just left more space for the
That's all I do.
for
is
the
just
meats.
steak. And then the pineapple after. Oh,
No, the place is remarkable. So if you guys are, you guys have probably seen the restaurant. If anyone who's gone to the Sawgrass Mall has seen the restaurant on the side of the road there, check it out. Place is cool. A little pricey. It was a little pricey.
It's actually one of the least expensive ones
out
that
of
are
those
in
styles.
this area. Yeah,
out of those
it
styles.
Really is.
Okay,
that's the reason we discovered it, because we were like, oh, we're looking for one that maybe the prices are a little bit lower, and we found that one. And actually, we used to go to one called Chima on Las Olas. And we loved it. That was our favorite place. And then it just started getting so popular that the ambiance, the atmosphere, was too crowded and too loud, and just, it wasn't a good date night place.
Yeah.
And that place is really pricey. So we started going to Braza. And then one day we were like, let's try Chima again. And we hated it. Yeah. Because the food had kind of gone downhill. And then, like I said, the atmosphere was just so loud. And you can't have a conversation with anybody because you have to shout across the table.
Pull that mic like a little closer. A little closer.
Get a little closer.
So, yeah, of course. What was that? Arid Extra Dry? Arid Extra Dry. That's what it was. Arid. Yeah, that was
Extra Dry. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so you can tell Sue and I are not, we don't eat out in, fancy places, or we should do that a little bit more, but we're so, we're so low key. Like, we're happy with like hamburgers and garbagey French fries.
We kind of do some gluttony things too that are not Braza. Like
eating well,
Eating well.
We got to do a little more of that. Since we last saw each other, Sue and I celebrated an anniversary as well.
Congratulations!
We just celebrated our 15th year.
Wow.
Married. We've been together for 18 years.
That's crazy.
Can you believe that?
That's a long time.
That's a freaking long time.
That really is. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. I mean, in 2 years, it'll be basically 20 years we've been together.
Wow.
That's crazy. Dating back to when you and I knew each other back at ITI.
And you still like each other.
We
That's
still like
the
each
key.
other. Yeah, people always ask me, not always, but I do have friends have asked, so how do you guys do it? We actually have friends of ours that joke, like they'll see us together. Like if you see Sue and I at a bar, we're talking. Like we're nonstop talking.
Yeah.
And people wonder, how could you guys be together for 18 years? And literally you can go 3 hours straight at a bar and just talk to each other the whole time. How do you not run out of stuff to say?
Yeah.
And I don't really have a good answer for that other than to say that Sue and I have a lot of things in common. We get along, obviously, very well. But I tell people, those who care to ask, what's the secret to maintaining a relationship that long? And I always tell people, you got to have a date night, at least one date night. Because what happens is a lot of couples will get together, especially when they're young. They'll have a kid in 1 or 2 years, Yeah. And once you have a kid, your life changes. Now, Sue and I have the luxury of her mom, my mother-in-law, who's amazing in terms of helping us essentially raise our kid. Because in order for us to achieve this at minimum once-a-week date night, someone has to take care of them.
Right.
And we were never comfortable with babysitters or people or strangers, basically.
Yeah.
Right? So she was always there. She's always been there. She's an incredibly integral part of his life and our lives. So we have that luxury, and a lot of people don't have that. So I get that. But if you can, especially after you have kids, don't get consumed by your kids and get lost in your kids. A lot of people do that. I think it's a big mistake.
It is.
And
I agree.
and Sue and I just make it such a priority to be, alone, away from the kid, away from work.
Yeah.
We rarely talk about work when we're not together, and it's really made a big difference in our relationship in terms of being able to maintain it as steady as we've been able to. So I think that's the secret.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
It's very, very good advice. A lot of people do fall into that trap, and myself included. You have a kid, and your entire life becomes about the child, which, in some ways that has to happen if you're going to be an effective parent. But like you said, you need to take time out for yourself, for your partner, because if everything becomes about the kid, what happens when that kid's grown up and moves on? Then you have nothing, and you're like lost because you don't know what to do with yourself.
That's exactly right.
And there's a lot of couples that once they get the whole empty nest thing happening, they're like, oh, wait a minute, now we have to do something with our time, and we don't like each other anymore.
If they even make it that far.
If they make it that far, yeah.
Yeah, because, how many friends do we have that just, we're married, no longer married?
Yeah.
Single moms.
Yep.
Kids, it's terrible on the kids. It's really tough out there, and times are changing.
Yeah.
So it makes it even harder to stay together because, it's just, everyone is so, connected. There's crazy websites out there.
My God.
The Ashley Madison
Ashley
thing.
Madison.
And what's the other one? Is it No, not, I was about to say,
Tinder.
Tinder. I was about to say Tumblr. That's not it.
No. It's Tinder.
Tinder,
Yeah, Tinder. It's funny. The whole Ashley Madison thing Did you see the article? There was an article that said that they released like the number of men versus women.
Oh yeah, the disparity is
And it was
crazy,
like
1,000 to 1.
Yeah, it was like almost all men were talking to other men.
Yeah.
There's no way they were talking to women because there's, the numbers. And then Tinder, I know people, and I don't want to name names. I know one person in particular that has had 3 quote unquote relationships develop from hookups on Tinder.
Tinderships.
Tinderships. There you go.
Is amazing.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, just because that's like a random hookup app, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I think that actually presents a challenge to a lot of relationships because it's become so much easier to be unfaithful if that's your objective, if that's what you want to do,
right,
than it was even in the past. Even when you and I met each other, I mean, were those still beeper days? They were, right?
Yeah,
we didn't have
beepers.
cell phones, right? So it was beeper days. It's so hard now. I mean, you can just go on an app and, hey, I'm here, hook up here.
Yeah, and then there's like I heard the other day there was an article talking about there's an app where it's a map, and it shows you these people are in this area and they want to hook up and this is what they want. And a friend of mine had that app, and some guy messaged him, and he was like,
it's for,
hey, you want to blow and go?
Yeah, it's a gay app. Not that the app is gay, but I think it's for the gay community.
I'm not sure that apps are gay or
no,
but I know what you mean.
It's for the gay. I know what it is because a friend of mine who happens to be gay participated on that app.
Okay,
I think it's called Grindr. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it's one of those. There's a couple of them.
It's like Tinder for gays.
Basically. So, but he showed me the map. I saw the map that you're talking about. It was like a GPS. It was almost like an Uber.
Yeah.
It was like an Uber for,
like,
for hookups. And it's raunch. I mean, it's like
so
literally,
bad.
I'm here, you're a mile away, want to hook up? They look at each other's pictures, acceptable, and you literally click accept. And you go and you take care of business.
That's disturbing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but the world is changing.
It really is.
It presents its challenges. And kids and the whole thing. I actually became a father again recently.
Yes.
I have a puppy who you just met.
Fur babies.
My little Frenchie. Her name is
so
Ellie.
cute.
She's really, really cute. I have been opposed to getting a dog for years because ultimately, even though my wife and son said they would take care of him, ultimately I knew. I work from home. I felt the responsibility was going to land squarely on my shoulders anyway. The one thing I didn't anticipate was becoming extremely, extremely attached to the thing in a very, very short period of time. I've never had a dog. I'm 42.
Ever in your life? Not even when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, my mom brought home a couple of dogs, but they were short-lived experiences because we've always lived in small apartments.
Yeah.
I was on Section 8, I'm single mom. We had the struggle, right? We lived the struggle. And, pets were never really allowed. So she'd basically sneak them in and see if she can get away with it. I never got close to the dogs.
Yeah.
They were literally there, 1 or 2 weeks and they were gone. And it was just a couple. I remember one vividly because of his name. She called him Tilingo. And I thought that was just a hilarious name. But no, truthfully, I've never really had a dog, And John would always tell me, you have no idea how attached you're going to get to this animal. I'm like, it's just a dog. I've had cats, and I wasn't attached at all to my cats. Because cats are bastards, you know?
They are. Well, I'm deathly allergic to cats. Like, if I go near a cat, I will go into anaphylactic shock.
Okay.
So
funny you say that.
It will kill me.
Funny you say that. Guess what I wasn't counting on when I purchased this dog?
You're allergic to her?
I am incredibly allergic to her.
No.
Right. Yeah. So my life now, because I can't get rid of her.
No.
So for the first week that I had her, everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, my eyes turned into fire.
Oh, wow.
The sneezing, coughing, runny nose. I mean, all the allergy symptoms, right? I said, oh, my God, what the hell's going on here? The only variable that changed was the dog. I'm allergic to the dog. So, but by the time I discovered the allergy, it was too late. I literally fell in love with this creature in a week, right? So I'm like, well, I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not getting rid of the dog. And my wife's in love with the dog. And my son, forget it, changed his life, right? So I'm like, I can't. Now what do I do? So what I do now is I basically live off of allergy medicine. I've tried everything. I found the few good ones for those of you who suffer from
Zyrtec. Zyrtec has saved my life.
I didn't try that one.
It's the only one that works for me.
I did Claritin, Benadryl. I did all the usual suspects. But the one that I used that worked for me is called I think it's called Nasacort. I don't have it in front of me, but it's basically a mist. It's the spray. So I wake up in the morning. I do two spray shots on each nostril. And whenever I start feeling bad throughout the day, I'll do another quick shot. I keep one bottle in my car. I bought a 3-pack from BJ's. I keep one bottle in my car, one bottle in my bathroom, and one bottle in my room because I need, when I start flaring up, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been the big drawback is that I'm allergic to this dog, but I'm like totally in love with it.
That's the reason why I didn't get dogs for so many years is because I'm allergic to everything. I'm allergic to dust and feathers and perfume. I'm really the bubble girl. Everybody's always told me, God, you just got to live in a bubble because it's bad. And that's why I take I've been taking Zyrtec for now 10 years. Every single day I take a pill. And my kids wore me down. 5 years wore me down trying to get a dog. And I was like, no, never going to happen. And I was deliberately saying I hated dogs and I loved dogs. I always did. But I was like, no, because I didn't want to have that thought. And then finally they wore me down and I got our first dog, Leia. And oh my God, I fell in love with this little...
She's the hairy...
she's the black one.
She's the black one that you had posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
Really, really cute.
She's
and you
adorable.
you gave them all Star Wars names,
Yes,
right? It was Leia and...
Well, that was her puppies. Leia was the first one,
Oh,
and then
right.
Frank bought me a dog a couple years ago, and I named him Wicket.
Right.
And they had puppies, and I named them all Star Wars names: R2, Padme, Yoda, Chewie, and then the only one that wasn't a Star Wars name, it was actually the last one that came out. We didn't expect another one. We thought she was done giving birth, and this random one came out, and she was all black and white, so we named her Panda. And they all have homes, and actually Panda was with us up until 2 days ago. The owner finally took her. She's a friend of mine that I promised her I would let her have the dog because her dog ran away. And we have an appointment for Wicket to get fixed because we didn't want to have any more accidents. So yeah, we had an accident yesterday. And I think I'm going to be having more puppies.
Oh, no.
I was like, no, I have the appointment tomorrow.
Oh, no, she's such a...
So yeah, I knew, and I told my son came home from school and I said, we really got to keep an eye on them because I think she's in heat. He's starting to, jump on her and they're going to get romantic. And literally I went to the restroom to brush my teeth. I came out and they were stuck together. And I'm like,
oh my goodness.
oh no. And I was in tears. I was so upset because I was like, I can't, the stress.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
There's not like morning after pills for dogs.
There's no plan B for for dogs, huh?
No. So I'm like, all right, in 2 months. And the timing really sucks because my dog will have puppies around the same time my daughter's having her son. So I'm like, wait, we're going to have a baby and puppies, and that's going to be a fun experience. It's going to be...
So you're a big Star Wars fan, from what I can tell.
A little bit, yeah.
When's it coming out? Is it December?
December 17th.
How many records do you think that movie's going to shatter?
Oh my God, it's going to destroy stuff.
I think it's going to destroy. I think it's going to... I think it'll surpass Titanic easily. And that's number one right now, I think. Is it Titanic or Avatar? I know it's one of those.
I think Avatar beat Titanic.
Yeah.
I think, when Avatar came out.
How crazy is that? So Cameron, right?
Yeah.
That did the two biggest movies of all time, same director.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I'm just like so over his obsession with Titanic. Like every couple of years he comes out with some new documentary and it's all about Google it. James Cameron Titanic, and there's so many things. I'm like, really?
Yeah, well, it's a cash cow for him. I think I think James Cameron, but I think he's the real deal though, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he actually does a lot of deep water exploration. Yeah. Like he literally gets into these airtight subs that are, well, I guess all subs are airtight, aren't they?
I would hope so.
But no, so like super airtight. Like you've seen like the yellow ones that are like circular almost, and he goes deep.
Yeah.
I mean, he goes like...
He did a documentary where he went down to see the wreckage of the Titanic, and it was like a whole Discovery Channel special, and I'm like, really? Is it that fascinating to you, the Titanic?
Yeah.
I don't get it. But
big moldy old ship, right?
Right?
But,
like, okay, it sunk, and that was a tragic thing, and we know all about it. How many stories can you tell about the Titanic now?
Yeah.
But
and he Hollywood the story too, because the whole thing with the was that true with was it the ruby or whatever the lady had?
I think that
was all
fictional,
Hollywood, right?
Yeah. I mean, the actress that played the old lady was an actual survivor from the Titanic, but the story was all fictional. The whole Rose and Jack thing was all just made up.
Yeah, well, that's been quite a nice cash cow for him.
Oh, for sure.
I figure that's why he... And
then when he did Avatar, I hated Avatar. I'm one of those people that was like...
How dare you?
I really hated it.
How dare you?
I liked it better when it was called Fern Gully. Because it was the
was
same...
Was that its original name?
No, it was the same plot as Fern Gully. You don't remember Fern Gully?
I have no idea what Fern Gully is.
Okay, Fern Gully was a cartoon back in the 90s, I think, and it was the same plot. The exact same plot.
Oh, my God.
And Christian Slater was the voice of one of the characters, and Samantha Mathis was the voice of the other. It was the same plot. I was like, okay, I saw this movie once in the 90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see, man. I mean, hopefully when Star Wars... I can't wait to see that Star Wars movie.
I'm excited.
I mean, it's like you see one of those teaser trailers come out and you just go like mad. And they're only like 15 seconds. You're like, oh my God, did you see the lightsaber? It's like, what's going on
And,
here?
you know, as a huge Psycho fan, I have to pause it and just kind of analyze every frame of the
Frame
trailer.
by frame,
And
sure.
the trailer that came out that finally showed Han and Chewie, it was like, people were in tears watching this. And then, you know, it became the thing on the internet. Everybody was posting their video reactions to, and I did that with my son. We watched it and we posted our reaction. Oh, I lost my mind.
I hope it's not another Phantom Menace. That's all I can tell you.
No, it's not going to be. You know why? Because George Lucas has nothing to do with this movie.
That's what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things, you know, that people hate to talk about. And we were talking about this prior to the time we started our recording here today. Politics and religion. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people don't want to talk about those two, in my opinion, very, very important subjects?
Because most people have such extremely passionate views on it that if you disagree in any way,
it turns into a fight.
It becomes an angry battle. Like, people can't disagree without getting angry. And people become insulting based on your opinions. Yeah. So I think that, like, my best friend, she and I do not agree at all politically. We never talk about politics. And she'll post stuff about politics, and I scroll right past it because I'm not going to get into a conversation. Go for what?
You see, I consider myself kind of a little bit new school because it makes sense why people don't want to talk about those two things. But I believe that it's really important that we do start talking about them because there's a lot of very, very critical decisions that are being made on our behalf, essentially.
Yeah.
By people that really and truly we don't know, you know, much about.
Right.
You know. But I personally have evolved in terms of my opinions, politically speaking. Even on religion, I've evolved tremendously. I used to be a Catholic. I was an altar boy for years. I went to church every Sunday. That's the way a lot of Latino kids in particular grow up in Catholic households.
Right.
Today, I don't consider myself a Catholic. I still consider myself a believer of God. I have a very, very, very strong faith. But I have a very independent one-on-one relationship with God, which essentially means I don't subscribe to any religion now. Right. Only because I think religion, which is all, you know, man-made, man-written books and all these different things, really have been the cause for a lot of grief.
Absolutely. People kill in the name of religion.
A lot of control. And I see it as a mechanism, or in the past it was truly a mechanism for control, whereas I think today religion, generally speaking, is a very, very good thing for most people. Yeah. With the exception of what you see going on in the Middle East, where people are using religion as the excuse to commit horrible and barbaric actions, right? So, but you know, in today's world, Catholicism, Christianity, Judaism, these are fine religions, and people that subscribe to them and want to live their lives according to those, you know, the rules or the teachings that are professed in these churches, I think that that's okay. Yeah. Which is why I always get into arguments with John, because he's an atheist. Right. And, you know, he's constantly, you know, talking about the negative aspects of religion. And my point has always been, you know, if it makes people feel good, if it gives them hope. Right. And the teachings, which again, in general, like what we see in the United States, are pretty positive. Right. Let them be, you know, just let them be. But my opinion on religion has evolved. My opinion on politics has evolved. I'm a registered Democrat. I voted for.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That is very surprising.
I've been a Democrat my whole life. Again, I grew up on welfare. I grew up on Section 8. I grew up on food stamps. What do you think my mom was? Hardcore Democrat.
I would have totally guessed that you were Republican.
Everybody thinks I'm a Republican. Yeah. I voted for Bill Clinton twice. I consider Bill Clinton to be the greatest president of the modern era. I'd vote for him again if he ran today. Yeah. I love the guy. But people think I'm a Republican because I hate Obama's policies. Right. I don't hate Obama. I hate Obama's policies specific to the economy and foreign affairs. Really, that's it. Because from a social standpoint, I agree with virtually everything. I'm pro-choice. I support stem cell research. I'm against the death penalty. I support gay marriage. I mean, those are not Republican talking points. Right, right. I'm not a Republican. I just side with Republicans in particular when it comes to fiscal policy.
Yeah.
Because I think what we've done from a fiscal standpoint, and by we I mean this administration over the last 7 years, is devastating. And people have no idea how devastating it is. But to put it in perspective, our country's 250 years old. Mm-hmm. In 250 years, we amassed, so this is all the way through the Bush years. In 250 years, we amassed $10 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
Okay. By the time Obama leaves office, our national debt will be at $20 trillion, which means that it took us 250 years to amass $10 trillion in debt. And in 8 years, this man has matched what it took 250 years to accomplish in terms of debt. If you don't think that that's going to have an effect on our economy, on inflation, which is the hidden monster that nobody likes to talk about, you're crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of the stuff that I don't side with. You know, you see this guy Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Very, very popular.
Right.
And the reason he's so popular is because he does have some very, very nice positions. He's extremely liberal, particularly when it comes to civil rights and all that, and it's great. But all his solution to everything is the Obama solution, which is just spend money, print money. Let's
Throw
just
money at it.
trillions of dollars for this. Let's overhaul this. Let's not privatize, but let's put this under the government umbrella, whether it's healthcare or insurances or whatever the case may be. So you can't just keep spending money and think that nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to ultimately devalue your money in a bad way.
Right.
And that's my biggest concern. Not so much for me, but I really do worry about our kids and what they're inheriting, because it's going to be tough. Anyway, in my opinion, this election cycle, or this pre-election cycle, is probably the most interesting I've ever seen, because you've got some characters out there. You've got
It's a show. It's
a show.
It's a circus.
It's a circus. You got a neuro scientist, doctor guy, Ben Carson out there. You've got a clown show in Donald Trump. You've got two very, very, very strong women, which both have an excellent shot. More Hillary than anything, but Hillary and Carly Fiorina, very, very strong women. You've got a self-described socialist in Bernie Sanders. I mean, this is the most interesting group.
It's eclectic.
It's eclectic. It's the most interesting group of candidates I've ever seen. What's been amazing, the most amazing to me so far, is that the guy that's leading the Republican charge is Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
And in my opinion, he's a clown show. He scares me.
It's funny. I had a conversation with my dad when Donald Trump first announced that he was running, and it was like a brand new thing, and people were just starting to hear all the crazy things coming out of his face. And my dad said, I like him because he tells it like it is. And that's what you keep hearing people say. And I keep telling people, there's a difference between telling it like it is and saying what's on your mind. He's not telling it like it is. He's saying what's on his mind. That's not necessarily a good thing, because what's on his mind is misogynistic and prejudicial, and he's full of crap. Mm-hmm. And I hate the man. It's like he has no business being in charge of anything that affects the people at all.
I agree. I think he's such a loose cannon.
Oh, God, yes.
I actually have a clip here that I wanted to play for you. It's only 2 minutes long, but when he made his formal announcement to run for president, there were some sound bites in that clip that if you heard that and you didn't think to yourself, there's no way this guy can be anywhere near the nuclear button.
Oh, no.
You cannot put this guy near a nuclear button.
Yeah.
Listen to this guy speak. He is the most egotistical maniac that I've ever heard. All he talks about, every single response he gives to any question, is about how much money he has. He answers every question with, well, I'm a billionaire. Listen to this.
I can't stand that man.
All right, here we go. Let me see if we can get this.
I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you that. Obama is going to be out playing golf. He might even be on one of my courses. I would invite him. I actually would say. I have the best courses in the world, so I'd say, you know what, if he wants to see, I have one right next to the White House, right on the Potomac. If he'd like to play, that's fine. In fact, I'd love him to leave early and play. That would be a very good thing. Hey, I'm not saying they're stupid. I like China. I just sold an apartment for $15 million to somebody from China. Am I supposed to dislike him?
Am I supposed to dislike him?
Our president doesn't have a clue. He's a bad negotiator. He's the one that did Bergdahl. We get a no-good trader and they get the 5 people that they wanted for years, and those people are now back on the battlefield trying to kill us. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico.
Oh, boy.
It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. But we don't know, because we have no protection. Islamic terrorism is eating up large portions of the Middle East. They become rich. I'm in competition with them. They just built a hotel in Syria. Can you believe this?
Oh, Lord.
They built a hotel. We have losers. We have losers. We have people that don't have it. We have people that are morally corrupt. We have people that are selling this country down the drain. I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second. I have a total net worth, and now with the increase, it'll be well over $10 billion. But here, a total net worth of $8 billion. Net worth, not assets, not liability, a net worth. I'm not doing that to brag, because you know what? I don't have to brag. I don't have to, believe it or not.
And yet I'm going
I think
to.
I am a nice person. People that know me like me.
I don't believe any of that.
That guy is off the chain.
So he's got a net worth of, what was it he said?
$10 billion. Forbes just kind of, they release an annual kind of ranking of the richest people in America, and he's supposed to be at $4 billion, but whatever. 4 billion, 10 billion, whatever the number is. He's a billionaire. We get it, but.
And he filed for bankruptcy like multiple times, no?
Well, not so much him. That's kind of a misnomer. What he has filed for bankruptcy, but not personal. His companies have filed for bankruptcy. It's basically him exploiting a lot of the loopholes that are out there for people to essentially take gigantic chances, with other people's money and kind of skate away scot-free when things don't go right. So he's actually admitted to that. He does admit that he's very well aware of all the loopholes that are out there, and he's taken full advantage of all of them. But the bigger point being, when have you ever heard a man running for president of the United States call people losers?
Yeah.
Talk about his net worth.
He's an idiot.
He's an idiot. He's such an idiot. It's crazy.
I see a lot of like what you just said, like you're scared. He scares you.
He's scary, but let me tell you what's happened. I think, first of all, we're a year away from the election.
Yeah.
And I truly believe he's hit his peak,
Yeah.
And in my opinion, if you're going to hit your peak, you should be doing that when you're closer to the election,
right.
not a year away.
Mm-hmm.
So if you subscribe to the belief that he hit his peak, which I think he has, because although he's still number one, he's only 1 percentage point ahead of the neurosurgeon. What's his name? Carson. Carson.
Wasn't Bush second?
No. So Bush is around 5th right now.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So the way it goes is I think Trump's like at 23%. Generally speaking, only one poll is a little different from the other, but it's the averages are like 23% for Trump, 22% for Carson, 11% for Fiorina, who I love, 11% for Rubio, and then Jeb is like at 7%.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I thought he was second.
Mm-mm. No, so he's way down, but again, it's so early.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of money. He should be able to make up ground. Eventually, Trump is going to go away. He has to. Again, his numbers are sliding backwards, whereas everyone else's numbers are going upward.
Right.
And where they took a huge turn, very favorably for like Fiorina and Rubio were at the debates, because both those two, Fiorina and Rubio, were like amazing.
Yeah, the debate. Yeah.
In the debate. She especially came out of nowhere. Like no one even knew who she was.
Right.
And now she's got 11% of the vote. I really like her. She's really smart. She got into a little bit of controversy with this videotape. She said she saw a videotape,
which never existed.
It did exist.
I heard that like 10 different news outlets have completely debunked that.
It came out. It came out yesterday.
Really?
So that's the interesting thing. Yeah, look it up right there on your fancy Surface machine. Yeah, it came out yesterday. I actually saw the video, by the way.
Did you?
It's extremely disturbing.
I can't watch that.
Yeah. So I got into. I'm involved in what we call a feed. It's basically a group chat on WhatsApp with a bunch of our friends. And we talk about, I love this thing, and we talk about a lot of different topics, and lately we've been talking a lot about politics. And we talked a bit about this video in particular because I maintain that she's going to get off scot-free because they were all saying that the video didn't exist, and that was basically calling her a liar.
From what I'm finding in my search, apparently an anti-Planned Parenthood group admitted that she was wrong because the video that you're talking about isn't an abortion from Planned Parenthood.
Okay, so the video that I saw, which is the one that she referenced, there's no way of knowing if it is Planned Parenthood because there's no like sign in the back that says Planned Parenthood. That's first and foremost. My buddies on this chat group that I was talking to you about, they were saying that from what they read that the child was stillborn and not an abortion. It was actually one of those stillborn procedures because the child was essentially dead. When you watch the video, which I do not recommend that you do.
I'm not going to do that. I can't deal with that.
The baby is moving. Like, it's moving. Buddies were maintaining that. No, those are like, muscle, fast twitch muscle fibers or whatever.
Yeah.
And I that's cool. I get that. I don't know anything about medicine. I don't know how a baby is supposed to, or how a human body is supposed to react when it's dead and what kind of movements it does. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
But to the average person, to the layman like me, it looked like the child was alive.
Right.
So, long story short, whether it was stillborn, whether it was Planned Parenthood, whatever it was, she was validated in the sense that there is a video out there, and it's graphic, and it's horrible, and she did describe what was happening in the video to the T. I mean, it does look like the child is alive.
Right.
And you can tell it's not a medical procedure to save the kid because it's literally plopped on a table, and nobody's tending to the child. It looks like a late-term abortion. Okay. Which, even though I'm pro-choice, I am against late-term abortions
I'm right there with you.
if it doesn't jeopardize the mother's life,
right,
or something to that effect.
Right.
Healthy kid, late-term, I don't think that should be legal.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I'm pro-choice as well, and I don't think before I got pregnant with my daughter, number one, I did not have any intention of ever having children.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thought I had, and my daughter knows this, the first thought I had was, I'm not having this baby. I was a child. And I actually had the appointment for the abortion. I was sitting, waiting to be seen.
Oh, wow.
And I looked over at my mother and I said, I cannot go through with this. I can't do this. And she was like, are you sure? And I said, no, I'm not sure, but...
And your mom was with you at the abortion clinic?
Yeah, she was the one who took me. And she was like, okay, well, you know that your life is never going to be the same. And, her whole fixation was, your body's never going to be the same. And I was just like, not even worried about that. I knew I was like, I can't do it. I can't. And I always thought if something happens and I have an unplanned pregnancy, I will have an abortion. That was my thought process when I was that age. Mm-hmm. And once I had her, went through my pregnancy, and I realized people have abortions in such a late period of their, the third trimester even. I felt my daughter kick when I was 5 months. Like, once I felt that movement, I'm like...
That's over, yeah. There's no going back.
Are you kidding? There's people...
That
I don't agree with at all. But I've had conversations with people where they're completely against abortion, even in a situation where it's like a rape or something like that. I'm like, no. Sorry.
Completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I completely. But I think, and this kind of goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier, which is if we talk more about politics and religion, I think that there's a movement out there. I've mentioned this on prior podcasts. I always talk with John about it. I think people, especially young people, are evolving in their opinions.
Yeah.
So, for example, while everybody considers me a Republican, I'm actually a Democrat, and I'm very, very much so a social liberal. Mm-hmm. However, I believe in fiscal responsibility.
Yeah.
So I consider myself to be really kind of a hybrid. And I think most people when most people are reasonable, and when they step back and they think about what I just said, what I'm saying is people should have the freedom to make their own decisions. We are becoming a more progressive society when it comes to social issues. Yeah. We're seeing it every day. Gay marriage is legal in all 50 states. My goodness.
Yeah,
where were we 5 years ago?
Yeah.
It's insane. You're not stopping social progression.
Yeah.
It's never happened in the history of the world, regardless of what government has been in charge. And the governments that have been in charge that have tried to stop it have toppled, right? Yep. The Soviet Union, you go on and on, right?
Yep.
So I think that hybrid point of view of, you know what, people should have the right to make their own decisions, but let's not be irresponsible with the way that we spend our money.
Right.
it's kind of hard, in my opinion, to argue against that.
Yeah.
You know, if you're being reasonable, let's do everything in a reasonable manner. Versus, which is one of the reasons I'm not a fan of Obamacare.
Right.
We literally overhauled the entire American healthcare system, and it cost us over $1 trillion to do that.
Yeah.
And the big premiums haven't even kicked in yet. They're coming next year. You know, conveniently, when Obama's out of office, people are going to see their premiums go up. It's embedded into the legislature. It's going to happen. So people are going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
By the way, the whole point of Obamacare was to cover everybody, right? So that everybody would have health care coverage. There's 41 million people without health care.
I don't have health care coverage.
There you go.
Yep.
So it didn't accomplish its goal. Do more people have insurance today? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. There's still 41 million people without coverage. So what did we really accomplish?
Yeah.
We spent $1 trillion. The legislature's not working. There's 41 million people that aren't covered. And what? It's still broken. We don't have a system that works right. We could have done something differently. So that's my thought process is, let's help people. I agree with helping people.
Yeah.
But let's do it in a way that's fiscally responsible.
Right.
Let's not just keep printing money. So anyway, that's my rant on that. There's 3 issues that always come up every 4 years that kind of bug me about politics. And it's one of the reasons I think people really hate politics. It's always abortion. Now gay marriage. That thing has been, in the public eye for years. And what's the other one? There's one more. Going after rich people. It drives me crazy. Like CEOs. Like you never hear anything about CEO pay for 3 years. Then the election year, these CEOs making all this money.
Yeah.
And that's been kind of the Democratic platform for years. It drives me crazy. Obama won on that platform.
Yeah.
On his progressive views with abortion, gay rights, and going after rich people. And now when you hear Hillary and when you hear Bernie Sanders, it's the same song and dance.
Yeah.
Abortion, gay rights, and going after CEOs, CEO pay, and rich people. Do you know what the average? I looked up this statistic. Do you know what the average pay of a CEO in America is?
No.
The average pay, $155,000.
Really?
Yes. Because when you think of a CEO, you're thinking of the guy that runs GE,
right?
or the guy that runs Ford, or whatever the case may be.
Not
But
smaller...
most of the businesses in America are small to mid-size.
Yeah.
These CEOs are not making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. The average pay is $150. I think the exact number is like $156,000 a year.
And I think that mentality of picking apart, a lot of people, like what you just told me, I didn't know that. So a lot of people, they just hear these numbers that are kind of like the 1%, right? They're not the norm, and they think that that's across the board.
Right.
So they assume that when they hear a politician talking about this particular issue, well, like the whole Planned Parenthood defunding thing, and the reason why people want to defund it is because they don't want their tax dollars going towards abortions. Well, that's not what your tax dollars are going towards. Planned Parenthood isn't an abortion clinic. Do they perform abortions? Yes, but that's not what Planned Parenthood is designed for primarily. So people automatically think abortion, Planned Parenthood. So when you hear Planned Parenthood, the first thought that comes into your head is abortion. That's not their first primary purpose. I go to Planned Parenthood for my contraceptive care. I go for my annual PAPs, and I'm lucky enough that that's an option for me. I know a friend of mine that was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and she was treated in Planned Parenthood, and she, thank God, is, fine now, because of the treatment she got with Planned Parenthood. So when people hear a politician spout out numbers and statistics, or, just even saying some kind of benign comment that's meant to be a blanket statement, the problem is that people, instead of going and doing their own research, they listen to it, they take it as fact, and they run with it.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
They make their decisions based on a soundbite.
That's absolutely right. And again, I have a lot of really, really intelligent friends. And to your point, the Iran deal, the deal that the administration just made with Iran, that's a really bad deal. It's a really, really dangerous deal. And to make a long story short, the reason it's a bad deal is because it's tiered. So like every 5 years, Iran will get access to something. So in the first 5 years, they're going to be able to enrich a certain small little portion of uranium, and they get X amount of dollars, and the sanctions have been lifted. And then in 10 years, something else happens. Boom, boom, boom. In 15 years, there will be absolutely no sanctions. The sanctions have already been removed. But they're going to have basically a free, the word free is wrong. They're going to have the flexibility to enrich uranium with no limits on it. And when you can enrich uranium with no limits, you can essentially make nuclear weapons.
Right.
So essentially what we gave them was the path, the clear path, the roadmap to create nuclear weapons. And a lot of people don't know that. And again, I have a lot of really intelligent friends, and they'll tell me, oh, the Iran deal, at least we had to do something to prevent the nukes or whatever. I'm like, okay, what do you know about the Iran deal? Well, not a lot. They only know what they watched on TV and what the pundits said, oh, this is a good deal.
Right.
But they didn't read the details of the deal. Yeah. And that's what I wish more people would do. That's really kind of my message is both sides are complete bullshitters. Both sides, Republicans, Democrats, they're all full of shit.
Yep.
But when you're talking about CEO pay, tell the entire story. Don't talk about the guy at Goldman Sachs who, when Wall Street, was crashing, everything was going down, the guy was getting a $10 million bonus.
Right.
Okay, that's a true statement. But also mention that the average CEO only makes $155,000.
Right.
So you can't wage a war against CEOs when those aren't the people you should be going against.
Right.
Same thing with Iran. Read, understand exactly what the details are before you give your opinion on something, because we're essentially being told what to think. We're not thinking for ourselves, and we're making really, really dangerous and bad decisions in some cases in terms of who we're electing from a leadership standpoint. Trump is a great example. The fact that 23% of the Republican voting base still supports the guy boggles my mind. Yeah. It's like, wow, that's crazy.
And you know what's funny about that, too? Because that seems like it's just such a fluky thing, because most people, the information that they get is what they see on the news, right? So the media is responsible for disseminating the information the way it is. And if you're only getting a piece of the picture, that's because you're getting it from the media. What I see in the media completely trashes Trump. So why the hell are people still supporting him?
I don't get it.
I don't understand
it.
The
top 3 candidates on the Republican side, none of them are politicians. Think about that. So it's Fiorina.
Mm-hmm.
No
she
political,
CEO,
no political.
Right?
Yeah, she was one of the evil CEO,
yeah, the CEOs.
Rich people. She got a $10 million payout. Fiorina, the doctor Carson,
right.
and Trump.
Yeah,
the top 3 guys there. So I think in a way it is kind of the country sending a message that we're over these politicians. Even though this guy Trump is a clown show, he should be walking around with a big red nose on, right? We'd rather deal with this guy than what we've had to this point.
And I think also it's a lot of people are finding it refreshing because they're like, it's entertaining. It's entertaining.
It is entertaining.
Like when Bush was in office, all I heard was, I'm going to miss this guy just because of his stupidity.
The gaffes.
The
gaffes
so
were so
that's
good.
like, it was fun to watch,
Fool me once. Shame on me.
That's one of my favorite
Fool
ones.
me twice. Well, you can't.
I'll never get fooled again.
You can't fool somebody twice. What are you talking about?
But people were saying, I'm going to miss him just because of those things, because it was funny.
Yeah.
So, Trump is like, I feel like he's like, remember Dan Quayle?
Oh, sure.
You remember
Potato.
That? Yeah, potato, exactly.
Yeah. Couldn't spell
so
potato.
he's like, a really like Dan Quayle on steroids. He's an idiot, and then he's got a mouth, and he's a blowhard, and he's, full of it, full of himself, and he wants everybody to think that he's an amazing guy, and people are saying, well, because he says it like it is, I like this guy. He's not going to BS us. Really?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? So there's no way he's going to get elected. There's no way.
There's
it won't
no way.
happen.
It's
that's
impossible.
why same thing, and this is off topic, but when people freak out about gun control, and like when Sandy Hook happened, right? What happened? All the Second Amendment supporters ran to every gun store in America and bought as much as they could get because, they're going to take my guns soon, so I need to stock up.
No, they're not.
Your guns aren't going anywhere.
Your guns are not going anywhere.
We are never going to lose that right.
Never.
Ever. So why are you worried? That's why I'm like, I'm not worried about it. Yeah. I got my gun right here.
It's so funny you brought up guns. You made a post on Facebook the other day that made me crack up. It was like, I think you had mentioned something of when either you or Frank show up, but it wasn't when you were supposed to show up. You're yelling, don't shoot, or something like that?
It's true.
Because you literally have your guns next to you or something?
Our guns are around, and if we hear somebody at the door, I'm getting it,
That's hilarious.
So if I'm showing up at his house and he doesn't know I'm on my way, and I literally am opening the door. Don't shoot. And he does the same thing to me
That's
because
hilarious.
both of us are like, who's there? And it's true. But
I don't have any guns. I can never own I'm terrified of guns.
Are you really?
Terrified
I used
of
to be.
guns.
I
I'm
used to be.
terrified of guns. I can't even imagine having a gun in my house. But I am a hardcore supporter for gun owners because number one, it is obviously a constitutional right, but I think it's one of the things that makes our country uninvadable. Like, for example, there's no guns in England.
Yeah.
Well, shit. If, like, Putin wanted to invade England,
Yeah.
he could probably do it. I mean, there's not going to be any resistance. You're going to be fighting soldiers with knives and baseball bats
you
and
know
stuff.
what really frustrates me about that? That even the police don't have guns.
No,
in England.
they carry around those little billy clubs or whatever.
What?
Yeah, it's insane.
That's disturbing to me.
It's insane.
So I'm like, no, don't. You're
It's
not taking
insane.
my guns. My guns
Their
aren't going
their
anywhere.
crime statistics are something that does warrant paying attention to because
Yeah.
they are much lower than ours.
Yeah.
My counter to that is always we live in a country with 330 million people,
Right.
and it is a virtual melting pot at every corner. Even places that were traditionally just one demographic, like let's say Biloxi,
Right.
all of that is changing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, every single city and region within our country is becoming extremely integrated.
Yep.
And you can no longer assume, or you can never assume that everyone's going to get along. There's going to be
Right.
clashes and there's going to be violence, but no country will ever invade the U.S. It's impossible because everyone is armed.
Right.
You'll
Yeah.
lose. Like literally, whatever army you bring in here is going to go down. So it'll
true.
never happen.
It's true, and it's funny because, I've had conversations with people that are like, guns kill people and da 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 da, and then you inevitably have that conversation. Oh, well, then I guess spoons make people fat and all this kind of nonsense.
Yeah.
And like, I'm all for, I don't want to say gun control because that's not the right term, but I definitely agree that, mental health needs to be addressed, because there are people getting guns legally that have no business carrying a weapon. I completely agree with that. But when people say, oh, no, there should be, procedures and policies where people have to go through a class to get, look, in the state of Florida, in order to get your concealed carry permit, you have to go to a course. You don't just show up, pay a fee, and sign a paper. You have to go to a course where they teach you how to handle it properly. And one of the things they talk to you about, you put the gun on the table, that gun is not dangerous. It's sitting there. It doesn't become dangerous until somebody picks it up. Mm-hmm. So it's not the gun, it's the person. And there are criminals out there. If they want to kill somebody, they're going to find a way. So you could take away all the guns, and guess what? They're going to find some other way to do it. Commit whatever crimes they want to commit. Mm-hmm. So having guns is not the problem. Mm-hmm. The problem is the attitudes that people have. People are trigger happy. That's true. And then the whole issue with police and, it's driving me crazy. Yeah. Because it's like, why are people thinking that it's okay? Number one, if a police officer tells you to put your hands up, you put your hands up. Mm-hmm. I am not trying to antagonize somebody that has a gun. Mm-hmm. Somebody that can legally put my ass in jail for a long time.
Sure.
If somebody tells me, I may not agree with it, that's fine. My hands are up. I'm not trying to get shot. If I get pulled over, Frank and I both do the same thing. When we get pulled over, my hands are on the steering wheel like this. Mm-hmm. And I tell the officer, I am carrying. I don't want to have that I'm going to get my license and he sees the gun and shoots me because he didn't know what I was going to do with it. That people just need to act responsibly. And there are more responsible gun owners out there than irresponsible gun owners.
Sure.
There's a lot of them. There's actually a group that I follow on Facebook. Every single day they post a news story that's not a mainstream news story because mainstream news doesn't report this stuff. It's a news story about how a concealed carry owner saved the day because they had a gun. Mm-hmm. And Uber is a good example, which drives me crazy that they did this. They have a new policy. Uber used to have this policy with their drivers were allowed to carry, but it was based on whatever state they lived in, whatever the gun laws were there, that's the law that they had to follow. Now, their policy is their drivers cannot carry at all, no matter where you are. Even if you have a permit and you're in a state where you're allowed to. And that was all based on this one thing that happened. There was an Uber driver that was dropping off his rider, and he saw some kids looking like they were up to no good, and one of them lifted his shirt, and he had a gun. And he pulled the gun out and was getting ready to shoot into a crowd, and the driver pulled his concealed weapon, went up, and shot the guy. saved the day. He saved like 50 people. It was in the news. The police department was like hailing him as a hero. And because of that incident, Uber decided their drivers are not allowed to carry anymore.
Wow.
It doesn't even make sense to me.
Sure.
I'm like, you know what? You're not going to tell me that I can't carry. If I'm an Uber driver, I'm carrying.
Sure.
Yeah.
I
Sorry.
mean, it'd be impossible for them to manage that
Exactly.
anyway.
They can't police that.
By the way, I love Uber. Oh,
I love Uber.
God, I love Uber.
They need to fix the issue in Broward because that's...
They are.
Yeah. It's going to come back.
It's
I know
coming back, and it's so cheap. It's so convenient. I love Uber.
I know people that use Uber exclusively. They got
sure.
rid of their cars and
yeah.
use it exclusively.
Yeah, my buddy Aramis, he had a real nice car, got rid of his car, but he lives up there by like that Midtown-ish area over there by downtown. And yeah, doesn't drive. Just Ubers everywhere. It's cheaper.
It is.
When you do the math, it's cheaper when you factor in gas and insurance and the car payment.
Yeah, it's
cheaper.
much cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah. So this podcast we went pretty heavy on the political side. That's my fault. I did a couple things I wanted to get off my chest. Future cast won't be as politically centric, but like I said, I think it's so interesting what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And these candidates blowing up, and we'll still stay on top of it, as we do future recordings, but it won't be this politically heavy. I know it's not the most exciting thing to talk about. And we definitely need to insert a little more, comedy and humor into what we're doing here. But I just thought it was kind of neat to talk about and catch up.
Yeah.
Hey, water on Mars. Did you hear about that?
Water on Mars.
There's free-flowing water on Mars.
That, I was like, wait, there's no water in California, but there's water on Mars.
That's a fucking great point. What a great point that is. Yeah, there's no water in California.
There's no water in California, but we got some on Mars.
There's rivers in Mars. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's going to be habitable.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, if
sure.
suppose from what I've read, because I got super intrigued by that, during the warm seasons on Mars, it's like 40 below or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can live in that. You can live in that. That's like
that's the warm.
That's
though.
North and South Pole. Yeah, that's the warm. When it gets cold,
I feel like that's got to be uninhabitable if that's the warm.
That's the warm. Yeah. So the cold is going to be like
cold,
100 and something degrees below zero.
Right.
That's going to be tough. But if we can build there during the warm periods, which we can, you can work under that type of weather.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know.
The new movie that's coming out, The Martian.
Oh God, I want to see that.
I'm
so
looking
bad.
forward to that one because it's that whole concept that he goes up there and he grows things on Mars.
Yeah, he was able to cultivate the land on Mars. I wonder how much truth there is to that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it got like tremendous Rotten Tomato scores.
Yeah.
It's
Matt Damon. I love that man. I'll watch him.
He's
do
one of
2
those,
hours of read the phone book. I'll watch him.
He's one of those guys. He's really smart, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
He's one of those guys that does a real good job at picking good movies. It's like I never liked Brad Pitt as an actor, even though I think he's gotten a lot better. But man, any movie that he's in is a good movie. He's amazing at picking the right scripts. Whereas other guys who are probably 10 times better actors have been doing a really shitty job of that. Like Robert De Niro is a great example.
Yeah.
That guy does some clunker movies that you're like, what is happening to
Especially
this
now,
guy?
I saw an infographic online that showed like the history of Robert De Niro and the quality of his movies has steadily declined over his entire career.
It's terrible.
And it's horrible now.
I mean,
he'll do anything now.
He'll do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll put on a wig and,
Yeah.
I think he's doing like an intern movie. I think that's the last
Yeah,
one he came out where
with Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, they're like throwing eggs at his face. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's embarrassing.
He will do anything.
He'll
It's
do
sad.
anything, and he doesn't need to. He's such an A-lister. But there's a lot of guys like that they just have bad judgment in terms of some of the roles they pick, and their movies suck. But Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, these guys are always in great movies. Even Ben Affleck, even though Daredevil was atrocious. But
you know what? I'm one of the few people on the planet that liked that
you
movie.
like that? You like Daredevil?
First of all, I love Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
I know you're not a big fan of his. You think he's a smug bastard, but
he's a smug bastard. But I like a lot of his movies.
I
think
him.
most of his movies are really like The Town. Did you see Gone Girl? Did you see Gone Girl?
Yes, I loved
Holy
that
crap.
movie.
That's a movie a lot of people haven't seen.
Yeah.
That is excellent.
Phenomenal movie.
Excellent
I loved
movie.
it.
Gone Girl was crazy.
And Ben Affleck is another one that he's very, very intelligent. He is super intelligent, and he's an amazing behind the camera guy too, because he's a good writer, he's a good director, and he doesn't. I think he gets a lot of flack just because of that whole Bennifer thing. It totally ruined him.
Yeah,
that's all it was. It was if he was on his way. I mean, he was doing,
Yeah.
he was doing crap.
He was
but
in the wasn't he in the Jenny on the Block video? I mean, those were like dark days for him. But I think he was.
Was it Jenny from the Block?
I think he was.
It
he
might
was
have
on
been
a
that.
boat.
He was in
on
one
the
of
boat
them,
with
yeah.
her, and it was so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, look at this clown show.
She did that to him.
Yeah.
She made him get tans. Like you would see them at like a movie premiere, and you see he's like all Jersey Shore-ish, like orangey, because she was making. They did this whole interview with Diane Sawyer and all this nonsense. She completely destroyed him because she turned him into like this cartoon. You know, so his career suffered because of it. And, Geely happened, and oh, for the love of God. And then, I don't know, did you see Geely?
I would not.
I saw like 5 minutes of it because it's Ben Affleck. So I was like, oh, watch this crap. And I was like, I can't sit through this. Oh, no.
Now that you mentioned Geely, I'm actually rethinking my whole position on his his picking good scripts because, he's had some.
Well, there
clunkers.
was when he was big, and he says this a lot. He's, somebody told him, I can't remember who it was that told him, says, you need to do like the artsy movie, and then you got to do the blockbuster crazy crap movie. So he did that. He did Pearl Harbor. He did Armageddon. But the Good Will Hunting, that was how they got their start. They both wrote that movie, and he was doing that kind of up down thing with his choices, and then Bennifer happened. And he wasn't able to catch a break anymore. He was just like, everybody just took a giant crap on him. And his big comeback was Hollywoodland. Did you see that one?
I did not, but I think it was
good.
very well reviewed, though.
Very, very good movie. And, he had a, I don't want to say it was a small part, but he wasn't like a huge character in the movie. He played George Reeves, but it wasn't really based on that. And that kind of started people paying attention more to him, whatever. And then Argo, did you see Argo?
I saw Argo.
Great movie.
Amazing. Yeah.
And again, he directed that one, and The Town was awesome, Gone Girl. So he's starting to, and I think Batman, I'm sorry, like you said, you didn't like Daredevil. I loved Daredevil. I think he is physically perfect for a superhero movie.
Yeah, we'll see in Batman. He looks big for Batman, but we'll see. Did you see Daredevil on Netflix?
Yes.
Whoa.
Oh, man, it was awesome.
Was that great? No CGI, by the way.
No, that one hallway scene. That one scene, it was a one shot.
Yeah, that was like episode 5. I say that hallway scene is the greatest hand-to-hand combat
Absolutely.
of any movie I've ever seen that did not have CGI. Because,
I agree.
Yeah, The Matrix is cool, and there's things you'll see there. That show was crazy.
It was amazing. I cannot wait for season 2.
And it was very, very well cast. One more thing I wanted to get your opinion on before we head out, because we're going to try, some of the podcasts that I've done in the past, like they'll go over 2 hours, 2.5 hours. We're going to try to keep these to like 45 minutes to an hour. We're already like a little over an hour now. 3 states now, marijuana legal. As of today, October 1st, in Oregon, you can buy recreational marijuana.
Really?
Today
I did
was
not
the
know
day.
this.
It went legal today.
Oh, wow.
So they joined Washington State and obviously Colorado. So now we got 3 states, 47 to go. I don't smoke marijuana, but I am the biggest marijuana legalization advocate in the world. I think it's so important that we legalize it.
I agree.
Only because the revenues are tremendous. Every statistic that we're seeing coming out of Colorado and Washington is positive.
Yeah.
Crime is down.
Down.
Number of people in jail, down. Revenues, up. It's amazing. I was in Colorado with some friends. We went whitewater rafting about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And most of the buddies that I went with, they smoke.
Yeah.
So this was like nirvana for them, right?
So nobody's going to Amsterdam anymore. Everybody's going to Colorado.
Just go to Colorado. It's beautiful. By the way, Colorado's beautiful. Danny's there.
Yeah.
In Colorado.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. When you see the pictures he posts.
Yeah, my brother
incredible.
lives there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful state.
Yeah, it is.
I've been to Aurora many times.
Yeah.
Ryder, when I worked for PRC, and I was a director on that account, Ryder was headquartered in Aurora.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they have some awesome steakhouses there. But anyway, to make a long story short about Colorado, there's a dispensary now in every corner. It's huge, huge business.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about it openly. The only thing you cannot do is smoke it in public.
Oh, really? I thought you could.
Cannot smoke it in public.
Okay.
Right. So people aren't walking around just smoking a
Right.
doobie or whatever. But everyone talks about it openly. Like we would go to restaurants and my buddies were like, hey, is there a good... certainly some dispensaries are going to be better than others in
Right.
terms of price and selection. So everywhere we'd go, they'd be like, oh, what are your thoughts on... Is there a good place around here we can go to? And the waiters were like, oh, yeah, absolutely. These guys have a great thing from from Holland that you got to try. It's called the ABC brand or whatever.
Yeah.
It was kind of startling how open everyone was about it and how relaxed everyone was. Not because I'm suggesting everyone was high.
Right.
But
because it's not illegal anymore.
The general vibe
Right.
everywhere we went was just laid back.
Yeah.
It was laid back.
I'm curious. Because it's legal now, does that change employers from doing drug tests and not hiring people because they smoke?
No, because if you own a company and you want to test for people with lice,
yeah,
you're going to make, for some reason, lice testing is going to be
Mandatory,
is going to be a criteria for you. You can do that. You have the right to test for whatever it is that you want to. However, I think in Colorado, all those laws are getting real laxed. Think of it this way: there's the Denver Broncos play in Colorado.
right.
Those players are still subject to the NFL's
NFL,
drug
right.
testing policies,
Right.
which include the illegalization of marijuana.
Right.
So even though they even live there, doesn't matter. A private employer can choose to essentially check for whatever he wants to, and you as a potential employee can choose not to get tested and just go look for employment elsewhere.
And now I wonder what kind of issues it would raise, because I guarantee it's going to happen. Somebody will be turned down for employment because they tested positive, and then they sue for discrimination because it's legal.
Yeah, it would be the best thing that happens.
Yeah.
All those things are great problems that are coming down the pipe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe, I've been saying it for a while, I think it's going to be legal in all 50 states within the next 5 years or so.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the next vote in Florida. It's going to pass.
It's going to pass
because
it had close.
It had over 50%.
Yeah.
It just didn't have a margin large enough to.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it should be legal. The notion that it's a gateway drug is ridiculous. I think that, if you've ever been around people who are high when they're driving, when they're high because they're going 5 miles under the speed limit.
Yeah.
People don't drive like that when they've been drinking.
No, alcohol. I don't think anybody argues that point.
Yeah,
that alcohol is
much
10
worse.
times worse. There was a study that came out. I should have been ready with it, but it was done by a reputable university. We can Google it, maybe for the next podcast. But there is now scientific data to support that the true gateway drug in America is not marijuana; it's alcohol.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if you think about it, whenever you hear of an overdose, even with celebrities or whatever, it's not always marijuana that's involved. It's always alcohol involved. Now that'll lead, because alcohol is what leads to coke use and meth or whatever the hell else is going on.
Yeah.
The true gateway drug is alcohol, and for many, many reasons. One of which being its accessibility. I mean, if your teenager really wanted to get his hands on some alcohol, he's gonna get his hands on some alcohol. I would argue that it's easier to get your hands on alcohol than it is to get your hands on weed, even though it's illegal, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's the real gateway, and now there's studies coming out that support
I
that.
agree.
So
I agree.
we'll see.
Yeah,
but
I think it's going to happen. It's definitely going to happen soon.
3 states down, 47 to go. We'll see what happens.
Crazy.
So I think we'll wrap it up. Before we go, plugs. If people want to get a hold of you.
You can reach me a number of ways. Email nansanityfitness@gmail.com or on Facebook, facebook.com/nansanity. You can send me smoke signals or a homing pigeon if you want. I respond.
Friend this girl. She knows what she's doing. Very successful, and she can probably make you guys very successful as well. So, Nancy, this was awesome.
It was.
Next week, let's try to do this on a somewhat weekly basis, see if we can build up the base a little bit.
I am down.
We'll see if I can get that clown John to come on the next one.
Yes, please.
All right, thanks, Nance. Peace out, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Boom.
You're just like an angel. Your skin makes me cry. You float like a feather in a beautiful world. I wish I was special. You're so very special. But I'm a